Yeah, so it's me again in the city of Edmonton, walking down the back alley. You hear that train in the distance? That's one of the few familiar sounds that have been with me since my childhood. I always got to listen to the train in the distance. There was actually an irony about this. I grew up in a little shack just outside of a railroad yard. The whole neighborhood's changed. This is actually becoming a much nicer neighborhood, or whatever you want to call it. But in the early days, I lived on the other side of the Bronx. The Bronx was an industrial park, and if you were from the wrong side of the tracks, then you were in the projects, you know. That's the only way I can explain it. They had the housing units from what used to be the military family housing, and that all got changed and moved to Greaseba. But do you hear that? Do you hear that train? I don't know if the microphone picks it up in the distance. But yeah, the row housing. The row housing was on the Bronx side. Bronx Industrial Park. That is what it was called. What an irony. You know, that Canada should have a Bronx, and the Bronx was on the wrong side of the tracks. And on the other side of the tracks is where people try to, you know, one-up one another in, you know, the old middle class, keep up with the Joneses struggle. And some fared better than others, and some failed miserably. And most of them succeeded to a greater or lesser extent. Because of the area in which we were zoned, my father was permitted to run a commercial business where he lived, but he still had to pay a special license for, you know, operating in a residential type area. But he was close enough to a commercial zone that they decided to let it through. Hear that lonesome whistle? Yeah. So the house my father has now, I didn't grow up in that. That was demolished ages ago, after I had already left home. But you know, I've come to stay, you know, a few times now and then. This is one of those times, I guess, you know, where I've come to stay at my father's house. And it was a successful birthday celebration. It's nice to see my father reach 75 years. I think his father reached 76, but I could be mistaken. I think someone else told me 73, so good for him. May he live on. It's snowing. I'm kind of concerned about the way the highways are going to be, because sometime today I'm supposed to be returning home, and it's early a.m. Couldn't sleep, you know. Aside from my regular medical, you know, ailments, I couldn't sleep. Yes, I'm excited to get home, but I couldn't sleep. I'm troubled. I get troubled, and I'm worried. I'm concerned for this world. I'm not really sure how to put this. Let me think for a bit. We know this world isn't going to get better. We know it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. We have to prepare for the inevitable. And I know the inevitable will be war. So I guess I am a bit of a survivalist. And I am a bit of a survivalist. That's true. I raised my children, with the view that they had to have something to bring to the table too. But, at the same time, I raised my daughter, to understand that there is a place for mercy and compassion and grace. And maybe I didn't raise my son with enough of that. I don't know. And perhaps that's why my daughter has the 22 acres of land now and my son doesn't. Because she understood compassion and mercy and grace. My brother did. That's a shame. But I can't tell people what to do. I can't tell people how they should operate. That would be wrong. Once they're adults, they're adults. They have to make their own decision. I can only really tell them what the Bible says, And a lot of times I suppose it sounds like I'm telling people what to do, and ordering people about how they should live. But it's all based on, what I've learned in the Bible. And, it's not, thus saith Edward King. It's it's what thus saith the Lord. And, I've been wrong many times about many things. I'll be the first to admit that. But, I'm not trying to dictate thus saith Edward King to people. I'm just saying, we really are better off following God's plan. We really are. And, things are going to get worse before they get better. So, what business do I have bringing children into a world I know is going to get worse? Well, part of the reason is because only God knows the number of souls that need to be born before that time of His return. But I do know that by contributing to that number, that the time of His return will be that much more imminent. And that's why I really don't believe God approves of abortion. And that's why I believe the devil wants to see as many unborn destroyed as he can. Because the devil knows that there's a number that only God knows. And once that number is met, it's the time of the return. And only God knows that number. And there's enough indication in the book of Revelation that there is such a number. And I could get into that in another one of my presentations. But I'm troubled. I'm troubled for this world. I have a burden for this world. I need to publish my book. And yet, at every turn it seems, something always comes up. And, I have family issues. I have I have so many things on the go, so many pokers in the fire. I wonder, will I ever get my book published? I don't know. I really hope to. But I read it over lots of times and I think to myself, no, it's not good enough. People are not going to buy this because, for this reason or that reason or whatever reason. But the fact of the matter really is people are not going to buy it anyway. You know what I mean? Because the truth is just not that popular. No, that's the truth. The truth is just not that popular. People don't want the truth. Everybody, not everybody, that's wrong for me to say everybody, because there are people who are really, dedicated to truth, but most people, a vast majority of people, want to live the lie. And there's even an extra percentage there of people that don't even know they're living the lie. So, and I'm trying to get away from all that. I really am. I don't want to live a lie. Because to live a lie is to live in vain. Cold beer, says the sign. Yeah, it's cold all right. Got myself a nice new winter coat, finally. After, 10 years? Anyway, those are my thoughts for now. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Well, there it is. I was approaching the gas station there. I saw a guy, young lad. And, yeah, I guess it's time to go home. But you know what I did? See, there goes the local ETS bus there. Takes you around the city. Actually, they're pretty dependable. They're pretty good service. I noticed that the last time I used their system. Very advanced, high tech now. I'm from another time when I lived in the city, so everything's so changed. Yeah, it's probably a good thing that I'm heading back home. But I keep asking myself, do I really want to move back to the city? I guess it's necessity that's going to force me back. I love my dad, but it's a real hard call, Yeah, I have to have these operations, but if there was a way, that I could get these operations without having to move, to think about that. Yeah, so anyway, I guess it's good that I'm leaving back for home, because when I see a young man over the age of 18, the first thing I want to do is have a chit-chat with him and then start talking to him about manhood and about how the system is actually stripping us of our manhood and our, right to be men and to act as men, and that we don't even know this because we're born into this neutered society where, men are not allowed to have anything that distinguishes them as men, aside from their genitals. And even then, that's questionable. Yeah, I do that. I feel like it's my duty now to talk to every young man and explain to him what's happening in this society currently operated by neo-feminist misandrists, who are in turn the puppets for a much more sinister group of entities. Yeah, I'll just say entities. Excuse me, I don't even know if I want to call them human. Yeah, walking face on in the blizzard is not such a good thing, I guess. I have a really good coat, though. I had to test it. And, yeah, talking into it. Well, it's not really a blizzard. It's just a strong wind that keeps driving these, little needle-like ice crystals into your throat.